In 1973, the golden era of muscle cars was fading. The horsepower war was winding down, and each year the numbers dropped, leading to the mid-70s where even V8 engines were barely pushing out 100 horsepower. But just 1 year before, in 1972, with Firebird sales plummeting, GM's rebellious division, Pontiac, knew they had to pull out all the stops to keep their pony car relevant. Fortunately for Pontiac, they had one final ace up their sleeve that not only reignited interest but also solidified the legacy of one of the most iconic muscle cars ever made. This is the untold story of Pontiac's secret weapon, the 1973 to 1974 Trans Am Super Duty 455. From the start, the 455 Super Duty Trans Am was Pontiac's last-ditch effort to save their muscle car. The newly designed Firebirds and Camaros had sleek, aggressive looks, but by 1972, sales were falling off a cliff. Firebird sales, in particular, took the hardest hit, plummeting by over 50% between 1971 and 1972. Desperate to stop the bleeding, Pontiac made a bold move. They were going to launch one of the most powerful and sought-after versions of their legendary pony car, while other manufacturers were dialing back performance. Against the tide of regulation and emissions crackdowns, Pontiac decided to take a risk and ramp up their horsepower. The biggest hurdle in building a performance car for 1973 was the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. Pontiac needed to navigate a maze of new regulations and emission standards, which required engines to pass a rigorous 50,000-mile certification test to be road legal. But Pontiac, never shy of playing this system, found a loophole. Since they already had the 455 engine in their lineup, it was technically grandfathered in. This meant the Super Duty 455 for the Trans Am only had to pass a simplified 4,000-mile emissions test. And pass it, it did. On the surface, the Super Duty 455 looked like any other 455 cubic inch engine Pontiac offered, but under the hood, it was a different beast entirely. Pontiac reinforced the SD455 to be track-ready, equipping it with thicker bulkheads, forged rods and pistons, 4-bolt main bearings, and a specially strengthened cast crankshaft. Incredibly, there was even a space in the block for a dry sump oiling system, making the SD455 adaptable for those who wanted to push it hard in corners. This feature set the SD455 apart from other muscle cars, marking it as a true performer. Despite its massive 7+-liter displacement, the Super Duty 455 wasn't just about brute power. It was a car that could handle with finesse, a rare feat in the world of American muscle. Pontiac also equipped the Super Duty 455 with specially designed heads to optimize airflow, which was their secret weapon in extracting every bit of power from the engine. Despite having a modest compression ratio of 8.4 to 1, the 1973 Super Duty still delivered a formidable 310 horsepower. An impressive feat for the time, especially given the low compression. Car and Driver, in their review, even referred to the Super Duty 455 Trans Am as the last of the fast cars, which speaks volumes about its performance capabilities. As for the numbers, the bone-stock Super Duty Trans Am was blowing away its competition. Car and Driver tested the SD455 and recorded a quarter-mile time of 13.75 seconds at 103 miles per hour, while Hot Rod Magazine managed an even faster 13.5 seconds at 104 miles per hour. These results made the Super Duty Firebirds the quickest new American cars available in 1973, blistering fast for their era. However, there's a bit of a catch. The cars tested by the magazines were actually prototypes and not the same as the final production models. These test cars were fitted with the older Pontiac Ram Air 4 camshaft, while the production versions didn't get that same cam. As a result, the customer-delivered models made 290 horsepower instead of the 310 that the prototypes achieved. This made the production cars slightly slower, but few owners kept their Super Duty Trans Am stock. With a simple swap of the factory 3.42 or 3.08 rear gears for something more aggressive, plus the addition of headers and better tires, even the production-spec Super Duty models could easily break into the 12-second range. There was another performance trick as well: removing the block-off plate from the shaker hood. The plate was installed to comply with a noise regulation, but taking it off gave you a 0.2 of a second advantage in the quarter mile, an easy and free upgrade. The Super Duty Trans Ams were available with either a 4-speed manual transmission or a turbo 400 automatic. Interestingly, most buyers opted for the automatic since it was required to get air conditioning. All of the Super Duty cars shared the same 11-inch front disc brakes and rear drum setup as other F-body models. So while you got a lot more power, the braking system stayed the same, typical of American muscle cars of that era. Despite the braking limitations, the 1973 Super Duty Trans Am is widely regarded as one of the best-looking Trans Ams ever made, and arguably one of the finest-looking muscle cars in history. Being the last year of the pre-big bumper cars, the 1973 Trans Ams retained that aggressive, sculpted front end, free from chrome bumpers. Pair that with the massive shaker hood scoop, bold Trans Am decals, and the radical spoiler and ground effects kit, and the Super Duty Trans Ams were truly iconic. An interesting fact is that Pontiac even offered the SD455 engine in the Firebird Formula trim for those who wanted a more understated 455-powered beast without all the flashy Trans Am exterior additions. Amazingly, Pontiac managed to keep the Super Duty engine alive for the 1974 model year, even as the Firebird underwent a facelift to comply with new crash testing regulations. While the core of the F-body remained the same, the car's nose and rear were revised to accommodate the new bumper design. Despite these changes, the 1974 Super Duty 455 reportedly still produced the full 290 horsepower, which was even more impressive in 1974 as performance numbers for other cars were rapidly declining. At the time, nothing made in America could rival the Super Duty cars at their price, and not much from Europe could either. Car and Driver even recommended the Super Duty Trans Am over the significantly pricier De Tomaso Pantera, citing it as a much better value for the dollar. The Super Duty Firebirds represented an incredible performance bargain, though they weren't exactly cheap, costing over $5,500 at the time, which was still quite expensive for many younger performance enthusiasts. With EPA regulations tightening their grip on Pontiac, 1974 marked the final hurrah for the Super Duty cars. Although a 455 engine was still offered in 1975, it was a shadow of its former self, producing only 200 horsepower. For the euphoric 2-year run of the Super Duty 455 Firebirds from 1973 to 1974, fewer than 1,300 Trans Ams were built, just 295 cars in 1973 and 1,001 cars in 1974. The Super Duty Formula models were even rarer, with only about 100 ever made. Over the past 50 years, many of these cars have been destroyed or lost, making them incredibly valuable collector's items today. Prices for 1973 Super Duty Trans Ams now average around $120,000, while 1974 models fetch between $80,000 and $100,000. These prices feel well-deserved, as these cars were a bold stand against increasing regulations, giving muscle car enthusiasts something to celebrate for 2 years longer than they might have otherwise. That concludes the short history of Pontiac's final salute to the muscle car era, the 1973 to 1974 Super Duty 455 Firebirds. If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like and share it with other enthusiasts. And don't forget to subscribe to the Rare Cars Revival YouTube channel and hit that notification bell for more documentary-style videos on the world's most interesting cars. Until next time, enthusiasts,